Yes, indeed. Welcome into another episode of Total Hockey Now here on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. You can also get us on Twitter and Facebook at the same handle there. I am, of course, at Pucking Thoughts, Adam Bernard. The man over to this direction is at Ant Rivera 86, Anthony Rivera, fresh off a Mets trade deadline. And sweltering down north of the border and up towards Montreal is at Fuzzy Chris 91, Christopher Murray. Air conditioner's fine. You're good to go there, my friend.
A little bit, but it is still hot. It is hot. It is humid. I am going to be sweating, and not sweating like a player that's going to get traded at the trade deadline, but more sweating like a Montreal Canadiens goalie that has to face a top offense on a random Tuesday in November.
That was a very deep and good assessment there of the Heat.
That was more detailed than I was expecting, but hey, It works. You paint a picture. Yeah, we're gonna have a usual edition of THN today. We'll go through some of the signings that have happened over the last week, contract extensions, all that good stuff. We'll talk about the Atlantic Division odds, and then obviously we'll do our third mock draft of the season because it is mocky season. So we're very excited about that. We'll drop the link in Twitter and in the chat as well. If anybody that's watching wants to take one of those spots in the mock draft and draft along with us, more than welcome to do so. So hope you take advantage of that. Now, let's just jump right into it here. Let's get into the news of the day, or over the last week, I should say. First and foremost, Patrick Laine, we talked about this, online a little bit, been cleared to return from the NHLPA Players Assistance Program. Trade rumors are not short for this guy right now, but any team that does acquire him would need to take his $8.7 million cap hit. Ducks, Islanders, Hurricanes, Canadians, Capitals, Penguins are all some of those that have been mentioned. I take the Rangers out of the running with the Ryan Lindgren, arbitration contract ruling there because now they really don't have the space. Also, they signed Kirill Merchenko to a 3-year, just shy $11.5 million contract, 67 points in his first 137 career games, but he's expected to take a big jump. So let's go back to Laine for a second. Where do you see him being an ideal fit?
Exactly where he is. The Columbus Blue Jackets need some offense, and here they are just being like, hey, we'll ship this guy out. First of all, his contract is absolutely terrible. Like, good for him that he's doing well now, that he can return to the NHL and he's been cleared, but nobody is taking on that, $8.7 million for 2 years. The Columbus Blue Jackets are going to have to eat money, which means they're probably not going to get a great return to do so. And Columbus looking for prospects and like picks. I don't know, man. And again, Columbus needs some scoring. I think it's unlikely that he goes somewhere else. I think he starts the season in Columbus. Maybe he works up his value. Maybe that's a trade deadline acquisition, but he's not going anywhere in the summer.
Yeah, I think a trade deadline acquisition is right where he has to be right now. I mean, he didn't play that many games. He only played in 18 games. So, I don't know how much teams are going to really value him at this point in time until they see him play in a certain amount of games here. And maybe he becomes one of the hot, go-to picks at the trade deadline. But for now, I think he stays put.
Yeah, once you get to this stage of the summer, like, not to say that trades can't happen, but like, everybody's kind of got their plan going into the season. They know what they've got. Like you said, I think if he's still on Columbus by the trade deadline, then for sure he's getting moved. But he could also be one of those guys where a team that struggles out of the gate, that was expected to do better, needs to make a shakeup move. Like, he could be that first big guy to go within the first few months of the NHL calendar as well. But yeah, I would, if I'm Columbus, I'd absolutely want to hang on to him and play and let him play his value up a little bit, and he'll get every chance to get back out there and skate. Also, Travis Konechny signs an 8-year, $70 million extension with the Flyers. He set career highs last year with 33 goals and 68 points. 27-year-old, one of the top Flyers. I don't mind that deal at all for Philly. He's a guy they want. Listen, if Keith Jones likes him, then that's a guy that, okay, it's a top 6 guy they want to build around. They've clearly shown it.
Not a fan of it. We're just going to start right off here with that is a lot of money for a player who is like, he's 27, he's in his peak. He's not going to get any younger. And what are the Flyers? Are they rebuilding? Are they trying to be good? What? That is a lot of money locked up in a player. I know you need players and you need some type of talent. But man, that is a lot of money and a lot of term for how competitive are the Flyers going to be in the next 3 years? Is this a team that's really going to compete for a Stanley Cup? Did you really feel the need to kind of lock up all that term and money in Travis Konechny? Great player, great fantasy hockey player, of course. I'm not opening the bank for Travis Konechny. I'm sorry. I'm not.
I mean, do you worry down the line that if Mishkov becomes a top player, that okay, some of that money now is not going to be able to go towards keeping Mishkov?
Not even worried about that. It's just you have to build the rest of that lineup out, right? First of all, you need a goalie. So we got to start there. Through no fault of the Flyers, right? It's not their fault they need a goalie, but now they need one. And their defense is fine. Probably could use another stud. Offensively, I think they're very John Tortorella kind of team. They're not going to wow you offensively. They're going to block a lot of shots. They're going to play that gritty forecheck kind of hockey, and I think Konechny could fit into that. But that is a lot of money for Travis Konechny, and I don't know where this Flyers team is going.
I mean, good for Travis though, right? He had his best season of his career, 68 points. That's when you want to get the contract, and he was able to do that, with the Flyers here, and he's going to make a lot of money. And let's see how, this affects Philly, like you said, when it comes to getting a goalie and, building out the rest of this team. They have the young guy in Michkov who's going to, play, and we'll see what he's made of and if he can become a star. And, you tie yourself up in some of these contracts. It could hurt you later on down the line.
Yeah. And, with Philly, Keith Jones, Danny Briere running the show there in Philly. This was a third place team up until everything that happened with Carter Hart last year. So, and if that doesn't happen, Philly, not to say they run away with that third spot in the Metro, but they probably have a comfortable enough lead where they still get the 3 spot, and that just derailed the season. So coming in fresh this year, we'll see what happens, but goaltending still an issue there. Staying in the Metropolitan Division, the Hurricanes signed Martin Necas to a 2-year, $13 million contract. So, that doesn't mean he's not going to get traded. He still requested a trade, but at least they have, tangible terms and, in terms of what they can move for him. So we'll see what happens there. But right now, probably pegged to be one of those top 2 right wings in Carolina. Also, Eric Stahl signing a 1-day contract so he can retire with the team. So that was nice.
Good for Eric Stahl, former Montreal Canadian. He was there for a good time, not a long time. The Martin Necas deal looks really, really good, especially now. I think this boosts his value a little bit because now teams know that they have a little bit of control for him. Like, if you want to trade for him, I don't think he gets moved again before the season. It's because it's coming up so quickly. Like, mock season is here. Like, we're not, I don't know. I just don't see him moving now. But I do see his value going up because now you can, if you're Carolina, you can get some serious assets for him. And if we believe some of the stuff that we've read on the internet, like, they have passed up some assets in order to
try and make it work with him.
Right. So I'm like, on one side, I'm like, it's a short-term deal. I think they kind of just want to get something done. We'll help facilitate you out of here. And then the next team can deal with your 8-year deal at probably, I don't know, $7-8 million, which I'm assuming is what he's looking for. So Carolina kind of says, hey, we'll get a little bit of control. So we're not trading you as a pure rental. He can then, like I said, it's a very manageable cap hit for a short period of time. So teams don't have to lock themselves into that. I think it's good for both sides. Good for them for getting that deal worked out.
We're also looking at a Carolina team that could possibly be trending in the other direction starting this season. So to not lock themselves up like kind of Philly did, this could be a move that, facilitates something else in the future or gets them, it saves them some money here so that maybe their downturn is not as long as maybe people are starting to expect to see from them.
$6.5 million is a very fair contract for Natchez. So I don't think they're trading him. I think, if at this point, because they rely on him too much, because who else is going to plug in on that? If Seth Jarvis is going to play on the top line on the right side, who else you can have plug in on that second line right wing? Natchez is perfect there. And if Jarvis isn't, playing well, you can always swap them. So I think for now, Carolina that's what we're going to see out of them. And then lastly, before we get to the Atlantic Division odds, the Minnesota Wild signed second-year defenseman Brock Faber to an 8-year extension worth $68 million on Monday, $8.5 million per year kicking in the 2025-26 season. Tallied 47 points in 82 games this last season and led all rookies in time on ice. You don't think this is jumping the gun? Like I understand you get a cornerstone defenseman, you want to lock him in and know you got him, but like, you don't think this is maybe jumping the gun a little bit here for a guy like, he played very well last year. There were people that made arguments that he could have won the Calder over Bedard. Not me, but I can at least see the argument. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about you're locking in. Like, what if he just has a sophomore slump and never recovers?
Here's a contract I like. Get on the same page with me, Adam. This is a great deal. First of all, $8 million is the new $5 million with the way the salary cap works, the way it's going up. $8 million is the new $5 million. So, and I could see what the Minnesota Wild are doing, and I could see. First of all, I was shocked that Brock Faber was going to take it because at the same time, like you said, small sample size here. But if he becomes the player that Minnesota thinks he is and that we think he is, he's going to outperform that $8.5 million in no time, right? He would have probably be worth more towards the Erik Karlsson money kind of player or whatever Cale Makar's next contract is going to be. That's the type of money he could have probably commanded. So maybe Minnesota says, hey, we have to buy those RFA years. And if it's going to cost us 8.5, maybe it's not the value we need today, but it's going to be the value later on, right? And Minnesota's going to need that because don't forget, they're still on the books here for Ryan Suter and Zach Parise. That money's being eaten up. So Minnesota's going to get some money at one point and they can do other things. They still have to bolster their offense. That defense still needs help. Outside of Brock Faber, like you probably can't name another decent defenseman because why would you? Because I couldn't. No offense to Jared Spurgeon, Jonas Brodin, Jake Middleton, Bogosian, and Merrill, but that is not an elite winning defense core. So you need more than that. And locking up Brock Faber is the start. And they may have to go through the draft or get real creative to build that blue line. But this is not like Minnesota's not a very good team. But they've done one thing right, and they've locked up Brock Faber, right? Their offense is there, but I still think they need some pieces. But that blue line needs a lot of work, and this is a good start for a kid that should, again, exceed his contract value.
I never like giving out contract extensions after 1 year. I need to see if we can avoid that sophomore slump, see if he can succeed. But maybe they could have waited a little bit. I'm not saying till the end of this season. Maybe they could have saw how he played for the first half and offered a contract. That way, obviously if he plays well, his stock and price goes up, but at least halfway through, you're kind of meeting in the middle here. But like you said, with Minnesota, I mean, they're starved for, really good players. So, I mean, this probably works out to their advantage, especially when they have the other contracts on the books.
Talking about a division that has, for teams' top defensemen in the Central, you're looking at Cale Makar in Colorado. If Brock Faber, absolutely lives up to expectations in Minnesota, that's just right there, a 1-2 punch. And then, just looking at the rest of the division, the Blackhawks just drafted what's-his-face from Michigan State. That he could potentially be that guy, up in that class in a few years. So some young, exciting defensemen coming up in the Central Division. Now, I think it's time to let's talk a little Atlantic Division odds. We already did Pacific Division odds, so we'll go with the other ocean and talk about Chris's division here. We threw the odds up on the screen, courtesy of FanDuel. There, we got the Canadians at plus 9,000, the Sabres at plus 1,500, the Detroit at plus 1,400, and the Senators at plus 1,100. I do believe this is one of those situations where we are not really looking at the right side to place a bet here. Looking over at the left side, the Bruins at plus 500, Lightning at plus 430, Maple Leafs at plus 300, and the Panthers, the defending champs, at plus 230. So looking at those odds on the screen there, are we in agreement this is more of a left side than right side kind of deal?
It's definitely more left side than right side. I will say this, though. FanDuel is taking a page out of ESPN's, whatever pamphlet they have, because Montreal at plus 9,000, I get that they're not good, but homie, plus 9,000 and the rest of that trash on that side is like plus 1,500 and plus 1,400. Are you kidding me? Like, I don't think Montreal finishes last in their division. I don't think they're going to be elite, but I don't think they finish last. And that is quite a gap there. That is disrespectful, beyond disrespect. Because, first of all, Ottawa at plus 1,100, whatever's in that brownie is what I want, because I want that type of confidence in my team. They are not better than the Detroit Red Wings. They're certainly not better than the Buffalo Sabres. And both those teams, we have no idea what's going on. Ottawa is an absolute just mess. It's
definitely because of the Ullmark trade.
Of
There's
course.
no doubt
Sure, but
mind
they are a diaper full of a young baby's poop that is, and the baby's running around, and it's going to explode. Like, I get that Linus Ullmark is better. He's not saving this team. The Ottawa Senators are just miserable at every single point. Now that we've done that, I think Florida is probably the favorite, and as they should be. And then it would be Tampa Bay for me. Teams with strong goaltending tend to do better, right? Don't forget, Tampa Bay was without Andrei Vasilevsky for the start of last season. When he came back, they got better. I get there's no Steven Stamkos. I get that hurts. I think there's enough skill in Tampa Bay to overlook that just a little bit. They might struggle a little bit, not a lot of it. So if I was going to sprinkle, it would be on Tampa Bay. And I mean, unfortunately, Florida is the best team of that division. There's no question.
Yeah, it's hard to not go with Florida at this point, even though they did win the Stanley Cup. And obviously there could be pains of going through another full season for the third time in a row, right? Because they went to the Stanley Cup 2 times in a row. But they just are the most complete team in that division from top to bottom. So, outside of Florida, I don't know. I may take a chance on Toronto. We're just talking about winning a division, right? If we're just talking about winning a division, and, someone last week sold me on a Toronto goalie. So if that's the case, then, why not? Why not let it be Toronto's time to at least win the division?
That's a great segue, because I tweeted before the show that my pick was going to ruffle some feathers. Now, you talked about the Lightning and the Panthers. My picks would either be Toronto or Boston. So I'm glad you went there with Toronto, because now I don't feel as crazy. Again, we're talking about winning a division. We're not talking about winning a Stanley Cup. We're not talking about winning a conference or even getting out of the first round of the playoffs. We're just talking about winning the division. And what have we said about the Maple Leafs year in and year out is they are a very good regular season team. Joseph Woll's health pending, but if he can stay healthy and play what a 1A should play, I find it tough to think that, they have improved a little bit on the blue line. They have addressed it. They have not addressed it in a major way, but they have improved it. And I know Chris might disagree, but yeah, he's nodding. I see him. But I just think that with what Toronto's done, and here's the other thing, the coaching change matters. There's a very different, we'll say, tonal difference between what Sheldon Keefe sets in the locker room and what Craig Berube sets in the locker room. And I think there's going to be a certain standard that's acceptable and not acceptable. And if you're not playing up to it, he's not going to care what name is on your back. You're not going to get minutes. So I think that accountability, that attitude shift with the coach is enough of a difference for Toronto to win the division. So they're my pick. I can make an argument for Boston too, but I want to, give Chris a chance to respond about the Leafs.
Let's just go over the Leafs blue line, because I know it's almost August and this is delusion period for Leaf supporters. So, because now we have to tolerate them. Now they're coming in, right? It's the season. Like in the spring, sometimes, I don't know if you get there, but there's like pollen and it kind of irritates your eyes.
Oh, yeah.
This is Leaf season. This is where it starts to irritate all hockey fans collectively. Morgan Riley, Chris Tanev, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Timothy Liljegren, Jake McCabe, Simon Benoit.
Yeah,
That
that
is
third pairing's lacking, but
okay. That whole pairing is lacking. That is not good. That is not division winning defense. The Boston Bruins have a better six defensively, and I would also argue that the Tampa Bay Lightning do as well. And I would most certainly put the Florida Panthers in there. So the Leafs might have the best, like they're fourth best defensively at best. And now they're relying on a rookie goalie to have to kind of stand on his head here and steal some games for his team. There's no question the Leafs can score goals. And for long periods of time, they've been able to just outscore their opponents at will. But if you're talking about Craig Berube and keeping players accountable and all that kind of stuff, right, then something's got to change in the way that you play hockey. So either you're going to play better defensively to support the 6 trash cans that you got on the back end, or you're not going to win the division. They are not good defensively. And then to flip on the Bruins are the opposite. Right? I think the Bruins goaltending is going to be just fine. I'm still want to see what Jeremy Swayman can do. Defensively, it's the Bruins. They should be okay. I don't think defensively is the problem for them. But if you look at their offense, man, this is the absolute opposite. First of all, Elias Lindholm and Charlie Coyle down the middle makes me want to vomit. Matthew Poitras is fine, young kid, right? We're not going to saddle him with all the expectations. That top 6 is not good. I know what they did last year. I get it. I'm not betting on guys like Pavel Zacha. You get another year of Brad Marchand aging. Morgan Geekie's in the top 6. Like David Pastrnak, we know what he is. The Bruins can get there by playing well defensively. The Maple Leafs do not have that option. And defense wins championships, right? So
are the Bruins worse this year than last year?
that's an interesting question.
Because remember, at the beginning of last season, you had the Bruins out of the playoffs, and you stuck with that. Is it the same? Are they worse from when they started last season than they are now?
Here's what I will say. I think they are worse on paper. I don't know if they're worse as a hockey team, though. On paper, I don't think, if you ask any delusional Bruins fan, what happened last year was not something they were rooting on, right? Looking at you, John and Pemba. Because some people, I know what I said. I didn't expect them to make it. I was very well out there that this was not a very good hockey team, and they did not get that much better. They didn't. So, we're going to find out which real Bruins team is going to show up, because to me, I feel like they exceeded expectations, and I don't think their team is worse per se on paper really that bad, but I think they are going to regress to where they should have been. That's where I'm leaning at. So the Bruins are not worse, but they're going to come back to reality here.
I think they're just as good as last year, maybe even slightly better. Now, before I go into that, I dropped the link to our fantasy mock draft. That's going to kick off in about 5 minutes here in the chat. So please go on, and if you want to be one of the participants there, come on in. We always prefer to not have as many auto drafts in there as we can, and I'm going to throw that out on Twitter right now. So before I do that, though, we always talked about center depth being an issue. They've improved that. We spoke about that last week with Elias Lindholm. Yeah, I know he could be streaky, but I think he's one of those players where let's face it, when Calgary was a playoff team or close to it, he was playing much better. So he's on a better team now. I think he plays better. You express some concern about Swayman handling the workload as a full-time goaltender. I think Korpisalo, as bad as he is as a starter, is a fine backup to play every 5 nights, especially behind a team like Boston, whose blue line, like you said, you don't love it, but it's solid. It's better than my Leafs pick to win the division. So in terms of value, getting them at plus 500, I expect the Panthers to take a little bit of a step back this year because they have lost some at the bottom of their roster. Their bottom pairing's not great on the blue line. They've lost a little bit at the bottom of the forwards there. Not to say they're going to take a huge step back, but I think the division is up for grabs for someone like Toronto or Boston. We'll see how Jake Gensel fits in Tampa Bay, but because you got Vasilevsky there, that obviously keeps them in the mix as well.
All right, Adam is a Toronto Maple Leafs supporter. Heard it here
For this year, yeah, you know what? I am. Screw it. I'm on the Maple Leafs bandwagon for this year.
That's so unfortunate.
Plus 300 is pretty good, and I think they can do it. And this is not an indication on playoff performance. I just think, and they get there this year. They get something to maybe hang their hat on, a division championship.
They win the division and then lose in the first round.
That's fine. But I think what Adam said about the coach, the new coach, I mean, Berube, I think that could make a difference here with them. And who knows, maybe it has an effect on those defensive pairings.
We got about 6 minutes to go here before we kick off the draft, and we've got only 1, 2, 3, 4 spots available, so we're filling up here. That's a good sign here, boys. But yeah, I mean, and just to kind of go back to the right side here of the Atlantic odds. I mean, again, there's nobody we're really talking about, but I do agree that Montreal should have a little more respect and be a little bit, better than plus 9,000. I'm not saying that they maybe should. If Ottawa should be the worst team. I know, like Linus Ullmark is a nice addition, but after Brady Tkachuk and Stützle, there's really not much there. So yeah, I don't know why they're so high. Detroit and Buffalo, I agree, are kind of right there. That's about right for them. But yeah, Montreal should be a lot better than plus 9,000.
Yeah, how did they figure that out?
I don't know. It's a good question.
They didn't. They did it. There's been a lot. There has been a lot of chatter because ESPN came out with their top whatever list, and obviously it's ESPN, so they're wrong, right? Just we know this, right? Carey Price was not on the list, which is absolutely wild to start. Carey Price is a future first ballot Hall of Famer. Fight me. Okay. 2, he should have been top 20 in that list. And I know there was somebody who was like, guys like Roberto Luongo and Vasilevsky, and I was like, I get it. I understand. I'm not saying those players don't deserve to be there. Carey Price was the best goalie in the NHL for the better part of a decade. He is decorated with every single award that you can win, with the exception of the Stanley Cup. And that is through no fault of his own, because he played on a terrible Montreal Canadiens team for the better part of a decade. He is single-handedly elite. So the same disrespect now is coming from FanDuel. And I don't I don't know if FanDuel and ESPN are sitting in the same room and saying, hey, how can we gaslight Habs fans? But I am here to support them, right? I'm here to support Carey and the Habs. Plus 9,000 is just you're telling me it's not even close? That gap is wide.
It is.
That's 90 to 1.
I feel like they're going to be better than Ottawa. I feel like even though they have Ullmark, I don't think that they're as good and will be as good just because they got a goalie. They didn't fix up anything else.
I think Montreal is going to be one of those bad but still fun to watch and competitive bad teams to watch that kind of lurks around the wild card picture on the periphery, even into early March a little bit, mathematically alive. A lot has to go on. I think that there's a lot, because again, you go the point I made earlier about Toronto with coaching and Craig Berube. Martin St. Louis is an excellent coach. He's going to get those guys to play every night. And everybody's expected, that young core that's now got another year of experience, everybody's expecting to be a little bit better. So, we kind of did the Atlantic Division there. We put a nice bow on it. Ant and I think Toronto can take it. Be throwing Boston as a secondary one. Ant throwing Florida secondary there. Chris all about the Panthers or the Lightning. So we'll see what happens. But we got a couple more divisions to talk about, in the coming weeks here. Somebody commented on YouTube. They appreciated what we did last week with the Pacific Division and wanted to see us do more. So here we go. And we're going to do plenty more. We thank all those for watching today on YouTube at Total Hockey Now. Don't forget, give us a rate, review, subscribe. Hey, State of Survival checking in. I read an article that mentioned the Habs rebuild is over. Do you guys think the same? We got about 30 seconds before the draft starts here, about a minute. I don't think the rebuild is over, but I think they're over the midway point. I think it's time, next season, the playoffs should be a realistic expectation for Montreal. Not top 3, but they should absolutely be in the wild card next year.
Habs are a playoff team next year. Book it.
There it is.
That's it. Playoff team. I would go as far as saying, one of the top 3 in the division. We're almost there. We're almost there. I know it's been a while, but we're almost there. Don't worry.
Almost there. There's a lot of people that would be like almost there.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, and
Trust the process.
Tampa Bay is probably going to start taking a step back at some point soon. Florida, we'll see how they play this year, but they probably aren't going away anytime soon. Toronto, we've given our thoughts on them. We'll see how they handle this year but yeah, I mean, the window may be opening for Montreal to start climbing in the division, because Detroit certainly isn't with the signings they've made with, Kane and Tarasenko. Buffalo, we'll see. Ottawa's a trash fire. So there we go. Draft starting here in about 45 seconds. That's the wrong screen.
Last week was the 12 team?
We did a 10-teamer last week. We're going to do another 10-teamer.
Okay.
Yeah, because
we did a 12 team at some point.
Well, we did do a 12 team the first week, but that was when we went like 240 something picks deep.
Yeah.
So when we have the time and we're not on somewhat of a time constraint, then we do 12, because I prefer 12 over 10. It's a better league in my opinion. But 10 teams, is fine for what we're doing here today. And when we gotta, hustle a little bit on the back end. But draft kicking off in 10 seconds. Somebody named Trade Austin Matthews gonna have the first pick, and then it'll be a few picks before me. And then Ant goes 8. And then let's see here as we get the whole screen up. And then this time, maybe I'll remember to shut that off 1 week. And then Aiden's awesome team going last. So here we go.
Interesting that Connor McDavid, and it didn't matter, he was ranked 4th.
Yeah, the rankings are wacky at this time of the year. Now I'm on the clock here at pick 6. This is not a league where hits matter in this format. So otherwise I would jump on Brady Tkachuk. I don't understand how Leon Draisaitl's still available here at this spot, so it's really a no-brainer.
Especially in a contract year, right?
We've talked about that.
Yep.
So there we go. So Ant's on the clock now, and he's got a pick to make here. I know what I would do if I was him, but we'll see. All right, he goes Roman Josi. He's going to get his blue line short up early. Remember, in this format of ESPN, which hopefully we're thankful for ESPN mock fantasy drafts, but we hope to be away from you soon. And something where the rankings are a little more accurate and the interface a little more screen friendly. 5 defensemen here we pick, or we have to start. So certainly not a bad way to go, a Roman Josi there to get your top defenseman locked up.
Yeah. Get the first defenseman out of the way. And the Cale Makar on the way back. I feel like that one hurts Chris a little bit.
Aiden's been watching, hasn't he?
And Chris gets to freeze up.
Aiden's been watching, haven't you?
He sure has.
Oh man,
He's smart. He has.
He has. Well done, Aiden. Oh man, absolutely foiled it there.
So he has a good end cap. We'll call it with on the turn. Cale Makar, Elias Pettersson, and now Chris back on the clock here. See who he grabs here with his 2nd overall pick. And that's a guy I probably would have taken if he made it back to me. Everything we talked about with Toronto. William Nylander is definitely a guy that will continue to produce as long as he stays healthy. 40-goal season last year. Tough to not take him.
That really foiled everything.
I'm sorry you didn't get Makar, and that you had to make a pick you didn't want to make, but I still think you made an okay pick with William. You got 2 strong forwards out of the gate. Not the way you want to build your team, but yeah, you could have done worse.
And because I know that Chris is very defense oriented at the top, I had to get one of them because I knew that one would not return on the way back.
You guys are learning. That's good.
As much as I wanted to grab a defenseman there, Brady Tkachuk's still sitting there halfway through round 2. I can't pass that up, so I'll take that there. Draisaitl Tkachuk is a 1-2 punch, certainly not too shabby. Trade Austin Matthews. He's on the end cap on the other side on the turn, so he gets Jack Hughes there, and that's a great pick to close out round 2. Probably should have gone a little higher there. And then he takes Darlene there. So just a really good performance there by Trade Austin Matthews on that turn. We see Robertson, Connor, Ovechkin, and Mika Zibanejad go. So now I am back on the clock.
Like it's great that people are getting better, but can we not? I want to see none of you in my draft boards. None of you.
All right, I'm going to take Sam Reinert. I think, 3rd forward. I usually don't go 3 forwards to start, but they're paying him that in a way that he's going to have to produce again and get another 50-goal season. So why not? I could believe he could do it again there on Florida's top line with Barkov. So I'm happy with my top 3 there. And there goes Connor Bedard. All right. End of round 3. Not a bad place to get him.
Finally comes my way. So I figured, why not?
Okay.
Chris on the clock now.
I do like the Sam Reinhart move.
He gets Jake Gensel, who's going to be leaned on heavily to produce there in Tampa.
Got to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be, and Chris said Tampa's going to win the division. So full circle right here.
State of survival. There is goalies in this format, but one of the ESPN mock hacks, we'll call it, is that you can wait on goalies for whatever reason. They just don't get taken early. And it believes we got Aiden from the draft. He's here in the chat. Sorry, Chris. Had to grab McCarr. So there we go. He apologizes.
You're paying attention, Aiden. Well done. Well done. I'm glad you're paying attention.
And he takes the first goalie.
And he takes the first goalie. Hope he's paying attention. He's not missing here.
I mean, usually there's no school in summer, but we're providing a schooling service here. You know, and Aiden's taking advantage. He's starting to snipe us in our draft. So
Aiden's taking home a championship somewhere. It's not in my league, but it's somewhere else. That's for sure.
Ant back on the clock here after 2 back-to-back goalies. So again, a nice turn there. Marner, Shesterkin for Aiden, and then Connor Hellebuck there. He's got listen, the top 2 goalies off the board on back-to-back picks. There goes Carter Verhaeghe and John Tavares, and I'm back on the clock here. What do I want to do?
That's a good question.
What do I want to do? Do I go goalie? I mean, I'm gonna go. I gotta go defense here. I'm gonna go Evan Bouchard. No disrespect to Noah Dobson, but I know Evan Bouchard, just by being with McDavid, is just gonna get a ton of points. Where we'll see how the Islanders' offense flows. So I get my first defenseman there, power play specialist, and Evan Bouchard as well. Philip Forsberg goes, Jack Eichel, Dylan Larkin, Chris Kreider on the auto pick. Quinn Hughes, there he goes. So that's a mistake by me in ESPN rankings. I should have taken Quinn Hughes, but hey, live and learn. Why you got to be? It's why it's important to know who's out there. And I'm back on the clock here. My goaltender. What do we got here? All right, I'm gonna get my first goalie out of the way here because I don't like what's happening. I don't like that. I'll take Vasilevsky. Why not? We know he's gonna get the lion's share of the workload. Or at least I have my first goalie locked in. And Anthony's back on the clock here. And Wyatt Johnston goes right before, so he gets sniped by the auto pick.
Big time sniping right there.
Yeah.
I can see you lining up for it. You were like, I got this.
Yeah, man. Big time sniping right there happening.
Wyatt Johnson, round 5. Oh, yeah. He's excited. And he gets a defenseman.
You guys are not missing today.
So Yossi Hedman, his 1-2 punch on defense. JT Miller, Connor Bedard, Carter Verhaeghe is his first 3 forwards. No goalies yet for Ant. Then we look at Chris's team: Kaprizov, Nylander, Gensel, Strunk, top 3 forwards. He takes Noah Dobson. If I'm not going to grab him, he does. Takes Connor Hellebuck there. We'll see who Chris makes on his pick on the other way. Adam Fox, another defenseman I probably could have gone with over Evan Bouchard. But, Aiden's just killing it right now. Let's take a look at Aiden's team.
Me.
Arner, Tage Thompson, Elias Pettersson. He's got his McCarr and Fox is a 1-2 punch on a blue line. That should be illegal. And then Igor Shesterkin in the net. Chris kicking it down here for the final seconds.
Taking it down to the final seconds.
Dougie Hamilton, there he goes. Got
I wanted Adam Fox there. That was the guy. I gotta start taking the guy I want the most first.
I mean, listen, if there's a defenseman you want, rest assured, Aiden's going to take him.
Aiden's got it. He's got the page open.
You got to take him on before you got to reach me.
I know. I was like, let me. I didn't think Dobson was going to turn though. So,
all right, I'll grab. I don't like what I've got here in terms of. I'm going to grab Sebastian Aho. Why not?
This is probably the first time I'm not feeling this team that I'm drafting.
I'm actually okay with my team. I'm kind of mad that I took Bouchard before, Quinn Hughes. That's definitely a gaffe on my part. See what happens. We'll see how the team shakes out. Last few picks that have gone off the board after I took Sebastian Aho was Matt Boldy, Travis Konechny, Jordan Kyrou, and Jonathan Marchessault, an auto pick. Trade Austin Matthews, gets Barzal and Hintz on the turn there. 2 good picks. There goes Clayton Keller, a guy I was hoping to get on the way back. Fortunately, it's not going to happen for me. Josh Morrissey would have been a nice one to get had I not gotten Keller, and I'm not going to get him either. So here we go. Want to go to, screw it. I'm going to reach a little bit here. If Brock Faber's worth $8.5 million, I'm taking him in round 7 as my second defenseman. Prove me wrong, Brock.
Love it.
There goes Mackenzie Weegar, which he's a very good defenseman. I just think Calgary's not going to get a ton of offense this year. Ant's on the clock here. We'll see what he takes. He gets Nico Hischier. He gets a little home cooking. He gets somebody he can root for. Now, Chris, he makes his pick immediately. He grabs John Carlson, hoping he has a better year than last year. Hopes that this year is the bounce back on a delay. Then Aiden, just grabbing Cole Caulfield. I mean, did you do something to Aiden?
I literally typed his name in the search bar as that was happening.
Did you I don't know, Aiden, identify yourself. Do you live in Quebec or the Montreal area?
I'm just gonna take a goalie at this point. I haven't even looked.
I mean, and Sider and Caulfield. I mean, he's gonna have the best team when this is all said and done. Ant's back on the clock here. Chris, love the Ottinger pick there in round 8. That's part of the goalie hack.
Gotta do it.
And Ant takes exactly who I expected him to take there because I was taking him if you didn't as my second goalie.
Gotta get the goalies out early in this little league we got going on right now.
I don't want to have Stutzel and Kachuk on the same team. That's just like asking for
trouble.
Yeah. All right. Let me go defense here. I don't love what? Taking Jeremy Swayman. I know I could have waited on him, but in a real draft, you'd have to grab him probably by this stage of the draft.
Like that. See, I was torn between the two, between Swayman and Soros. But since we had our little talk about the Atlantic Division odds and where we feel like the Boston Bruins are going to fit, I kind of leaned the other way. So that helped me out there a little bit.
There goes Scheifele, Horvat, Jesper Bratt. Trade Austin Matthews. I want to look at his team here because let me make my pick, and then we'll look at the a guy that's on the other end of the draft here. Let's see who's on the. You know what? Timo Meier, get in here. Why not? He's going to have an even better year this year. Get on my forward squad. Let's take a look at Aiden's. Let's take a look at trade Austin Matthews. Obviously, first pick of the draft, Connor McDavid. Got to take him. Jack Hughes, Sasha Barkov, Barzal, Rupe Hintz, Bo Horvat. This guy believes in building through the forwards, that's for sure. But Dahlin and Quinn Hughes is a 1-2 punch. I said Makar Fox should be illegal. That should also be illegal as a top 2 right there. No goaltenders yet, so he's going to take advantage of the goalie hack that exists in ESPN mock formats. And now Aiden back on the clock. So Chris gets Lafreniere. That's a guy he's been taking a ton. Doesn't want to wait for Aiden to maybe take him, so he gets him there. Miro Heiskanen. So Ant gets his 3rd defenseman spot filled up? Yes, he does. Aiden about to make his other pick. He grabs Bobrovsky. I think this is the last year you can really take Sergei Bobrovsky, and then it's going to be more of a transition, I think, next year. Brad Marchand and Bobrovsky, so there you go. And now Chris back on the clock. Let's take a look at his team and see if we can anticipate where he's going to go. He's got his goaltenders in Hellebuck and Ottinger. He's not going there. Does he go 4th defenseman? I think he's got to go forward here, get a little bit deeper there. Question is who?
No, it's false. I'm gonna take a defenseman. I have no exposure to him yet, so kind of excited to see how this goes.
Brandon Montour.
Very nice.
Kind of excited to see how that goes.
He's going to have the opportunities there in Seattle for sure.
No one's challenging him for those top power play minutes, so.
Oh, I mean, Vince Dunn, but he ran it last year. But I mean, you don't bring a guy like Montour, and he's probably going to. Vince Dunn probably goes down to the 2nd power play. Ant's got 5 seconds to make his pick here. See who he grabs. Brian Nugent Hopkins. So there goes Tyler Toffoli. Probably a little bit early for him. Let's see here. Charlie McAvoy still on the board. I'm not going to make the mistake I made last week and draft Morgan Riley over McAvoy. So there we go. So as a 3rd defenseman, I'm very happy with that. some picks going off the board here with the auto picks as well. We get to trade Austin Matthews, who also has a pretty good team here. He's gonna get his goaltender, and he's got Ilya Sorokin. So he waits and he gets rewarded. Good job there. And he takes Varlamov. So he's just gonna take the Islanders goaltending and know he's got it locked up. I don't mind that. You probably could have waited on Varlamov, but I don't mind it if like you want to have that locked up and want that peace of mind.
Yeah, the tandems always work.
Trusting the New York Islanders goaltending, though, that's one way to live, homie.
Yeah. You know what? There's a guy I want to take here, but I'm gonna just to upset Chris. I'm taking Slafkovsky.
Got you. I see what we're doing today.
There was another way I could have gone there, but I mean, I think he's gonna have a huge year this year. I'm actually in a slow best ball draft, hoping that he comes to me with my next pick. So. We are in round 12. We're about to be in round 12. We're about at the halfway point here of our third mock draft of the summer here on Total Hockey Now. Let's see. Luke Hughes goes there. Anthony gets the second power play point specialist there for the Devils. Pavel Buchnevich, somebody's got to put the puck in that. And I miss out on Miguel Sergachev 2 weeks in a row. Damn it, Aiden. You're only supposed to snipe Chris, not me. And Hurdle. So that was the guy I was going to take if I didn't take Slafkovsky. So there you go. So Aiden, now I'm not a big fan of him. And it's back on the clock. Chris takes Zach Werenski. Somebody's got to run the power play in Columbus. And,
somebody's got to feed it to Line.
We punt on the plus minus in this format.
Thank God.
Don't forget to draft Connor Bernard, Adam's cousin. Nice one. I like that. That was a good one. He went round 3 already. But you know what? Thank you for reminding me, because I am going to take it's that time in the draft for me to take
time.
That time. Macklin Celebrini, baby. So thank you for the reminder, State of Survival. Round 12, why not? It's not a dynasty league. And there goes Mishkov. So he's going to, trade Austin Matthews, definitely taking a shot there. And that's a good one in round 12. This is the time where you take your shots on guys you think that could potentially blow up. Seth Jarvis on the turn there. He's going to play on the top right wing spot for Carolina. I like that pick. I'm back on the clock. Wow. Look at that. Here I am. Even though everybody can see what I'm doing and looking at. That's fine. Looking for a fourth defenseman here. I don't love what's on the board. Certainly could go another forward here. I'm just getting tight on time. Just like somebody else with Buchnevich has to produce in St. Louis, somebody's got to feed him the puck, and that'll be Robert Thomas. So I'll take that there.
That's fair. That's very fair.
And it's on the clock now. Brent Burns was a guy I was considering. Auto pick grabs him after me. So at least tells me my head's in the right place. There goes Brady Shea. Dylan Cousins, good pick there. We're right in the middle of round 14 here, and there goes Sharangovich to Aiden's awesome team. And Brock Besser, a guy that probably I shouldn't have waited on. There he is. So Aiden just kicking our asses up and down the block today. Brandon Hagel, Chris's guy. And according to Ant's reaction, not happy.
Yeah, that was my go-to on the way back. So with that in mind, I'll just take Nikolai Ehlers.
That's a good one too.
All right, I'm gonna listen. You say what you want about Morgan Riley. The guy gets assists, and he is gonna get power play time.
So now you got both of them.
So I got both, and as a fourth defenseman, I'm fine with Morgan Riley.
That's unfortunate.
That Joel Farabee pick is not a great auto pick there. Somebody take Joe Pavelski. There goes Arvidsson, who should see a bump in his production at Edmonton. And let's see what trade Austin Matthews does here on the turn. And then there he is, Patrick Laine. I like that pick. That's a smart pick there. I'm back on the clock after Matt Roy, William Eklund, Brian Rustko. Are there any forwards I really want right here? You know what? I'm going to bank on Elias Lindholm having a nice bump in production this year. If I talked him up earlier in the show and there's a reason why I think the Bruins could win the division, I got to take him. So there we go. He fills out my starting forward spots. Vander Kane goes on auto pick. There goes Logan Cooley, another guy I was considering. At least somebody got him that's doing the auto draft. And there goes Craig. He knew he couldn't wait on Jeff Skinner for. Yeah, there you go. Good job.
Couldn't wait anymore. I'm absolutely terrified of this turn now. So I gotta sort out players before.
I've got ideas of who I want here, but we'll see. I still got a few picks to go. Aiden gets Vince Dunn. Not a bad pick. And then Leo Carlson. So, I mean, they're going to be playing him more minutes this year, maybe a second line center role, maybe sees a little more offense as a result. See what happens there with Carlson as Chris is back on the clock. As we are right in the thick of round 16 of a 22-round draft. He's bouncing. Chris is going to take Jonathan Huberdeau.
He somehow gravitates to me through no want. He's kind of there. He's kind of like the McDonald's that's open at 2 a.m. Like, you don't want to go to it, but everything else around is closed. So you just take it.
And I think that's an adequate analogy. We've all been there. I was going to hopefully grab one of those defensemen, Hannafin or Harley, but I guess that's not going to happen. I'm going to have to wait on defensemen now. I'm going to grab Ryan O'Reilly, just sitting out there. Going to be in that top 6 in Nashville that's expected to have a boost in offense. Why not? And now trade Austin Matthews back on the clock here. He's got some defensive spots to fill out, so could go defenseman here, but we'll see. And he does. He gets Philip Hronek. So he's got Quinn Hughes and he's got Philip Hronek. So he could just trust that Canucks top pairing. There goes Gustav Forsling. Sean Dursey. So yeah, defensemen are on the move here, which is going to kind of force my hand into that a little bit. I think you don't trade and acquire Jacob Chikrin if you don't plan on giving him chances to produce. I know John Carlson's there, but I'll take a chance on him having a resurgence in the nation's capital. And as my 4th defenseman. Or 5th defenseman, I should say. Ant back on the clock. Let's take a look at his team here as we approach the top of the hour. He's got his defense all filled up there. In fact, that's going to take one of his utility spots. But hey, got to go deep on the blue line. He gets Wild Bill, William Karlsson from Vegas there, going to be leaned on the, produce, with, losing Chandler Stevenson. Maybe he moves up. I mean, they got Hurdle, they got Eichel, but, they might still lean on him a little bit more offensively. There goes Philip Gustafsson. Let's see if he has a bounce back this year. Maybe we were a year early on him last year. Matty Beniers, Aiden again. That's my guy. I always get Matty Beniers at the stage of the draft. And Quentin Byfield. I like that. That Byfield could take that next step this year.
I see this guy keeps falling down the leaderboard, like down the board. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he accidentally died, but like if Shea Theodore stays healthy, I think he should be okay.
And he's a potential trade chip if that whole Marner to Vegas deal is true. That's one of the pieces going back. So Shea Theodore getting your defenseman there. Let's take a look at your roster as Ant makes his pick on the right. So yeah, that fills out that's your utility guy as well. Pretty solid decor there with Dobson, Hamilton, Carlson, Montour, Werenski, and Shea Theodore. You got your 3 goalies locked up with Hellebuck, Ottinger, and Gustafsson. Ant grabs Kyle Palmieri, and there goes Charlie Coyle. How is Stu Skinner still out there? I'll take my 3rd goalie there. Auto pick doing its thing here with the 5-1 block as trade Austin Matthews on the clock there. So Vasilevsky, Swayman, Skinner. I love my 3-headed monster there for goaltending.
That's a pretty good tandem. That 3-man stack there. Yeah.
There goes Linus Ullmark. Let's see here. I'm back on the clock. I need to get at least one more defenseman and a couple of forwards. I'm done at the goaltender spot, at least for now. So it's getting thin at forward. Probably getting even thinner at defense. Let's see. No, I'm going to go forward here. I'm going to just wait on defense. Give me Sean Monahan. Again, with him and Gaudreau getting back together, that's got to be worth something.
It's going to be worth utter disappointment.
Thank you.
This draft is full of snipes and also very, very smart players. So I'm going to jump the gun on this one and get Jacob Markstrom right now.
There you go. I mean, a guy that still can't believe he's still out there at this stage in the draft, but that's how the ESPN drafts go. So Demko, Saros, Markstrom, certainly quite the trio as well. And with Demko's injury history, you still got a solid, Saros, Markstrom punch there. So Good stuff. Chris back on the clock here. Aiden on his turn gets Drouin and Aiden Hill. Pierre-Luc Dubois, there he is.
Still trying to figure out what the Washington Capitals are doing, but I guess they're doing something.
Why not?
Why not? Right? At
That's
this stage of the draft, again, it's time to take shots. Yeah, Philip Kurashev, Chicago. Zach Benson, also not a bad one there. Logan Couture, that's a wasted pick. I don't even know how much he plays this year. Travis Sanheim, couple of defensemen go with trade Austin Matthews back on the clock here. And he might be he's making 2 of his last 3 picks here. So let's see what direction he heads in as we close out round 20 and go into round 21. He gets Johnny Gaudreau. So him and there we go. Him and I are hoping that we have a nice pairing there between those two, and they both produce. Teuvo Teravainen, great pick, a guy I was usually trying to grab at this stage in the draft. Who's taking Brian Elliott?
Got to take him, man. Who knows?
Would it be crazy if I think that there might be, even at this stage in his career, Aaron Ekblad could have a slight increase in his production with Brandon Montour out of there? I'll take a stab on him. I don't love that pick, but defensemen are getting thin. There goes Mark Stone, Marc-Andre Fleury.
I got these guys lined up.
Jake DeBrusk. God, yeah.
I know. Someone's got to do something.
Zegras. Yeah, I mean, this is the stage of the draft where you Cole Perfetti.
Good pick there. I'll round it out with a defenseman.
Probably could have taken Power over Ekblad, but
didn't happen like that. You know what I mean?
Did not happen like that.
Didn't happen.
I don't love my defense. That is somewhere where I feel like I kind of could have done better. There's the weekly Craig Anderson pick. My last pick in the draft here, Luke Evangelista hopefully will be the beneficiary of Steven Stamkos being a line mate, maybe even March or so. I'll take my shot with him at the last forward spot with him.
I'll say this. Aiden came, saw, and he had no mercy on our souls.
Yeah, we're going to get Aiden's team up on here quick before we lose it. Yeah, and there you go. Let's get my team out of the way first so I don't have to X off the screen, and then we can look at Aiden in a minute. Draisaitl, Kachuk, Reinhart. Certainly love those first 3 there. Bouchard, I probably should have gone Quinn Hughes there. That was a mistake on my part. Don't mind Vasilevsky there because we know he's going to get the workload. Aho, 6th round is great. Faber, talked about him. If you get $8.5 million, I'm fine with you being a second defenseman in this format, and he's going to be leaned on heavily, get a ton of minutes. Love Timo Meier there. Got to get Celebrini. McAvoy's a 3rd defenseman, and the bottom part of my roster I think is pretty strong here. I think I'll be okay. Took a couple of shots there with Monahan and Kurashev and Evangelista, but those are also guys that I can potentially drop if they get off the slow starts, and I want to jump on someone else. So. I'm okay with that team. I've done better, but I'm okay with that. Looking at Aiden's awesome team here, as you can see on the right, Elias Pettersson, Mitch Marner, Tage Thompson, Cole Caulfield, Brad Marchand, Thomas Hertl, Igor Sharangovich, bro, maybe I'll say that right one day, Brock Besser, Leo Carlson, Kel McCarr, Adam Fox, Moritz Seider, Mikhail Sergachev, Vince Dunn. Woo, that's a blue line. Matty Beniers, Igor Shesterkin, Sergei Bobrovsky, and then on the bench, Byfield, Drouin, Aiden Hill, Zegras, Cole Perfetti.
Wow.
Great job there, Aiden.
Pretty good.
That's
a
really
solid
good draft.
That's a very solid defense core. Forward's got a lot of upside there. It's good to have Trevor Zegras, Cole Perfetti. I hope Cole Perfetti finds a new home. Somebody give that man like free Cole Perfetti. Let him have an opportunity to play. But that is a very solid team that will never come to fruition, unfortunately. It's sad.
Let's look at
He
trade
might
Austin.
win. He might win mock drafter of the year at the end of the season.
Could.
At this stage, he probably has had the best performance. So kudos to Aiden. Looking at traded Austin Matthews' team, you got McDavid, Hughes, Barkov, Barzal, Hintz, Horvat, Scheifele, Mishkov, Jarvis. That's a punch at forward right there.
There's a lot of upside there.
Darlene, Hughes, Hronik, Forsling, Shabbat, strong at the top, maybe a little weak on the back end, but he definitely makes up for it with the strong forward core there. He's got the Islanders goaltenders, and he knows he's got them locked up and just going to play them. Line A, certainly a good guy to take a shot on, and Arvidsson as well. Velarde, Gaudreau, Teravainen, and Matthew Dees. Strong team there for Aiden. Now, I'll take my team off the screen. You guys can throw yours up when you're ready. And why don't you go first? Let's talk about your squad.
Very on po, by the way, for trade Austin Matthews to be absolutely top heavy on defense and then just fade out as you go down. That is on point there. Top heavy and then just fade as we go along there.
Yeah. I honestly, I don't really know how I feel about this draft.
We'll help you.
Yeah. I mean, going in that eighth, that 7-8 spot is a tough situation because now you're out of the top players that have been drafted and you start thinking, should I go defense first? Should I go goalie first? And obviously I went Roman Josi and went defense first, went to JT Miller, who I like, pulled a page out of the Adam Bernard book and took the Connor Bedard, who's been mostly going third round, fourth round in these mock drafts that we've been doing. So that's something to keep an eye out on. Then went to Verhaeghe, Hedman, took my first goalie in Demko, hoping that he, one, stays healthy, and two, Vancouver replicates what they did last season, which would be, a big feat for them. And I think we talked about it last year. I had them, winning the division in those odds. And when I got to go with my boy Nico, the captain, UC Soros, since everyone was taking goalies at that point in time, I said, let me lock up my two. Mira Heiskanen for defense, Nugent Hopkins, Luke Hughes, who I am going to depend on for some offense as well. Svetnikov, Skage, or Shea, right? It's Brady Shea.
Brady Shea.
So I always want to say Skage, but Brady Shea, Ehlers, Cooley. I kind of like the Cooley draft pick there.
Yeah.
Hannafin. I did Vegas double there. Hannafin, Carlson. Palmieri is one that I'm like, I think I pulled the trigger as the time ran out, and I was just like, oh, all right, Kyle Palmieri, because I don't really know how this offense is going to be for the Islanders. They haven't improved, and it's Teflon there, Teflon Lou in charge there. Then I got Jacob Markstrom because I just didn't know the way this draft was going to end up, and he's there. Duchesne, I like Stone, and I like the ending. I like my last 4 draft picks.
I mean, Stone, yeah, as long as he's playing for you during the fantasy playoffs, he's going to produce down the stretch for you.
Yeah, when you get him to be a part of the bench, I think it's all good. Obviously, you're going to play him as much as you can when he is playing because he's really good. But once he gets hurt, you just stash him on the bench, and I think everything else is fine after that.
I think you got a balanced team there for sure. I like my team better than your team, but I think you got a balanced team there.
Yeah, you guys are making me feel a little bit better now.
All right. And then we got Chris's team here. Now, before we get Chris's team, we got Aiden in the chat again. I've been watching you guys since last year, and because of it, I ended up winning my league. You guys are definitely my favorite channel to watch, and I look forward to the mock drafts every week. Well, we look forward to them as well. And yeah, I mean, this is, thank you for letting us know that we helped you win your league. That's kind of what we're here to do. We like to win our leagues too, but if it's somebody's going to win a league because of what we're doing, that's almost as good or just as good in my book. So Aiden, thank you for tuning in every week. Thank you for watching. We appreciate that. And just if you want to take a page out of Aiden's book, rate, review, subscribe, YouTube, follow on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Facebook. It's Total Hockey Now across the board on all of them. So
good for Aiden for winning your pool. I can see how you did that. Looking forward to you being here next week. I will be drafting ahead of you for sure.
Can I just say, I'm like very happy about this now. Like, I feel so proud that we helped somebody win.
I feel like our child's growing up. Like we're seeing them succeed at graduation. Or like, we did it. There we go.
The proud papa moment. And
Yeah.
listen, like Aiden, we can't thank you enough for tuning in and love you being part of the THN family. So we'll have mock drafts throughout the summer. We do our odds, we do a lot. State of Survival, another guy that checks in every week too. So love you guys. But without further ado, Chris, why don't we recap your team and bid everybody farewell for this week's edition of Total Hockey Now?
So I tried to stay with what I know is successful. Unfortunately, I got half the puzzle. I got Kirill Kaprizov. I did not get Cale Makar, so I went with William Nylander, which I think is fine. William Nylander is going to get his chances. Jake Gensel, obviously, I'm all out here for goals and scoring and points. Connor Hellebuck just feels like the thing to do. Noah Dobson is fine. Dougie Hamilton is fine. Jerome Carlson is fine. I didn't want to go 3 defensemen there, but I felt like I needed to since I didn't have the players that I wanted to get. The top big 3 defensemen in my mind were already gone, so I had to lock up somebody else. Nothing wrong there with Jake Ottinger, though, coming to complete it. I like to get my goaltending out early. If you know me, we try to settle that up and then move out of there. Alexis Lafreniere, I don't think enough people are talking about him. He's probably going to be on the Rangers top line. Rangers are still very, very good. I'm hoping he'll see some power play time. That'd be kind of fun so we can bump those numbers up. Brandon Montour, somebody in Seattle. Like I said, I had no exposure to him, but I don't necessarily hate him. I don't know what I'm getting out of Seattle, and I don't really enjoy like Seattle's hockey team really in terms of fantasy. So I'm hoping that'll change here. Pavel Buchnevich, of course, consistent. Zach Werenski, we know what we're getting out of him. Dylan Cousins, we're hoping for a bounce back year here. Cousins. Tage Thompson leads the way. Dylan Cousins slots in the number 2 spot. Nobody's really challenging him for that. Brandon Hagel just kind of sticks around quietly. Yep. He's going to pick up like 60 points and nobody's going to know how he did it. Jeff Skinner, he's not going to Edmonton for fun. He's going there to do something. This lack of power play time is going to hurt, but maybe if he plays with McDavid, we could all forget that. Jonathan Huberdeau, just because I enjoy Payne. Philip Gustafson is the starter in Minnesota, and I feel like Minnesota, again, like we talked about them defensively, but like they started off miserably last year. So maybe if they don't start off as bad, Philip Gustafson has better numbers. Shea Theodore is just there. Kind of what it is. Dylan Guenther, Utah is going to be rolling out, I think, some players, and I think Dylan Guenther can benefit from that. Pierre-Luc Dubois, again, same thing like Huberdeau. I like Payne. Jake DeBrusk, he's in Vancouver because Vancouver wants to add more offense. I think that is perfectly fine. He's going to play a top 6 role. Love it. Owen Powers is kind of my dart here. I think he can take a step. I hope he does. Maybe Buffalo goes back to using 2 defensemen on the top power play unit, which I don't think is terrible. But this is the point where you kind of see these players break out a little bit defensively. We saw it with Hedman. We saw it with Dahlin. The 3rd year kind of where we start to take off. Look, as my last pick in a 22-round, 10-team league, I will take my chances with him.
Interesting that you took Huberdeau and then his twin brother in Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Look, I at this point, like I had both those players last year, and I'm not gonna lie, it was maximum pain. I did not do well in that league.
So you're ready for more.
I am, but now at least my expectations are changed because now I'm not expecting them to do anything. Now it just exist, right?
I can't rip on you too much since you whooped our behinds in fantasy those 2 leagues last year.
I just don't want to have to rely on Jonathan Huberdeau and Pierre-Luc Dubois every night. I just want them to be
fair.
Like if they can stay off the 3rd line, that'd be great.
I think that's a reasonable expectation for both of them. Just stay in the top 6. If you can do that, and obviously where you draft them, obviously the value there makes the difference. But towards the end of a draft, I absolutely take a shot on those guys because if this is the last year to take a shot on those 2 guys you just mentioned specifically. Yes. If they can't figure it out now, forget it.
And they're coming off your bench, so I mean, they're not like it's not like your 4th or 5th pick, like I was pained with Huberdeau a couple years ago.
Fair.
Yeah, I had a league where Huberdeau just killed. I mean, there should be a support group for people that had Jonathan Huberdeau in the 2023-24 season. There should be a support group, but there's not. Maybe we'll make it here. We'll see. But that wraps up mock draft number 3. We're going to be back next week with mock draft number 4. We'll maybe do another fantasy position rankings. Maybe we'll do a top 10. Well, maybe we'll do another division odds. We'll see. We'll figure out which one we're going to do, but we'll definitely be doing a mock draft next week. Now, of course, can't forget to give everybody their necessary shout outs here. MLB trade deadline yesterday, Subway to Shea podcast. Going to be all over what the Mets did. Hey, Jesse Winker, not too bad. Not too bad. We got Rip and Riff going on right now over on Rip and Riff with myself and at Mr. Jared Moore. It's magic how I'm doing both at once. Magic. And of course, the Slapshot podcast with Chris. When that comes out, you just follow that on Twitter. You'll see it there. Of course, don't forget, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff for all of us here at Total Hockey Now. Back with you next Wednesday with an all-new episode of Total Hockey Now on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel.